What's up, everybody? So the next IC I would like to go through is Libra. And so if you have a Libra IC, that means that Libra rules your fourth house. And Libra is the sign of the artist, the diplomat, and of balance overall. It's ruled by the planet Venus. Venus is the planet of beauty and love. So it is a very peaceful combination, or a peaceful placement, but peace comes at a cost sometimes, and usually it's through the self that it comes at a cost, and I'll get into that. If you do have a Libra IC, so balance was huge in your upbringing in some sort of way and in your childhood. So basically, you were the peacekeeper in your home. And whether you knew this or not, and maybe you can look back on it and say like, oh yeah, I did mediate a lot of fights and a lot of injustices in the home. But for whatever reason, you are looked to very much balance out the struggles in a home. So if the scales are tipped this way, because Libra is represented by the scales, you are expected in some sort of way to bring the scales back to balance. So this could come from the fact that you had two dominant parents, or maybe just one dominant parent, and they had very strong points of view. And then you had to find the middle ground and compromise to see okay, this is correct, let's not fight with each other and let's try to maintain the peace. But as a result of that, you're looking at this point of view, you're looking at this point of view. So what you're failing to develop is your own point of view. So the biggest dark side with this placement is a sacrifice of self. And this is something that you develop later on, but if you have this placement, you may have felt you weren't really heard for who you were. Maybe you didn't even know what your ideas and your beliefs and your values were growing up. But this is a big theme that starts to happen if you have a Libra IC. So with this, sacrifice of self, everything was always posited to try to make things smooth and not rock the boat, and make sure that everyone was happy and content and balanced all the time. But that can get very exhausting, because that's not how life is. Life is not, balanced and peaceful all the time, as we all are aware of. So on the opposite side of Libra is Aries, and that's its opposite sign. So Libra is all about relationships, and how a Libra IC copes with the environment that it's in is that it builds relationships and makes sure it's friends with everyone in the household, so that no one is mad at it, or no one is, in a position to fight, and there's peace all around. Whereas Aries, on the other hand, copes by becoming very individualistic, very independent, and it pushes relationships out of the way because they're extraneous. So then we start to see the opposite start to happen of what we need to develop. So it's more of that individuality, which I'll get to later in the video. But here, it was always important that you had a happy face on all the time, and that you were charming and charismatic and graceful and diplomatic. And these individuals are going to be. So when you get to know someone with this IC, or you have it yourself, you are very charming, very charismatic, you got Riz going on, just naturally. And you're very balanced, and you may be someone that doesn't really take a side, that you're just oh, that's a good idea. I like Indian food. I also like Italian food. I see the benefits for both. You're not really taking a side on issues, which, every once in a while can be good, because you're being objective about things. But in life, you do want to make decisions and take sides. But you were kind of taught unconsciously to follow instead of lead. And even if your parents told you, you need to be a good leader, you need to be strong, you need to be independent, if they weren't doing that like through their actions, it's like a monkey see, monkey do sort of thing. Like you're not believing their words totally, you're believing their actions more so, and that's what you sort of develop into. So even if you were told to be a leader, you're not necessarily like getting that through the programming of like watching your parents interact. So you became more of a follower, and like easy to get along with. But at the same time, when, you are, you have this smile and you have like the charisma and the charm and everything, unfortunately, there's like a hollowness underneath that people begin to sense because you're not really taking a side. You're not really disagreeing. You're not really like doing anything that does rock the boat or does like, disturb the peace in some sort of way. And it's important for you to develop those things because all of us have our preferences. And it's important to notice like what your preferences are instead of like saying, well, my parents did this or my siblings did this and I agree with both of them, because maybe you don't. So it's important then to look at the fact that your sense of self is a little broken. And I say this, I'm close to, a Libra IC, and it is the truth where like you did not develop a strong convictions, strong beliefs, strong values. And so this is where the Aries MC comes in to develop the self. And so like the MC is totally a counter to what we experienced in childhood, and it has to like, even though we're trying to like keep the scales balanced, when we go out into the world, they are like this. So we have to balance them back out with the opposite sign. And the opposite sign in this case is Aries. And Aries, as I went over in a different video, is about independence. It's a very independent sign. It's not about relationships. It is about competition, being a pioneer, being brave, being courageous, being assertive. It does border then on aggressiveness, which I'll get into. But all of these things need to start to be developed because like where an Aries stands. Where like that energy stands, and they can stand right here and tell you exactly what they think and feel and believe. And so like that's what a Libra IC craves, is that authentic expression of the self. So when it gets out into the world with an Aries MC, the chances are you start to become very competitive. You can become very aggressive too, and like you just want to do things all on your own, and you're just like, you know what, fuck it. I don't want anything to do with relationships. I know where they lead. They just lead to like, unconsciously, that to be in a relationship or to be in a relationship to you see that as like, I have to take a side or I have to like agree with this person, but you don't have to in a relationship. The best relationships are those where like you have differing opinions, but you come to a compromise of some kind. You come to an agreement or a disagreement, and you agree to disagree, but like you respect each other nonetheless. And so with an Aries MC though, you can go so far in the direction of independence where you're just like, I want to do my own thing. I want to be by myself. Like this person is probably good at sports because like that starts to develop and that starts to become an outlet. So that could be even a career choice, or anything where you're like entrepreneurial or anything like that, where this person is really geared towards being an individual. But it can get so aggressive that like you truly do push relationships out of the picture and you are just there by yourself, and then no one's around you because you're too aggressive. So the antidote to this is looking back on childhood and seeing like, okay, it's not like, being charming and smiling that is the problem, and like the superficiality is the issue, but it's the sincerity of it and the authenticity of it, that like those were the things that were lost in childhood, that like you sacrificed your authenticity and sincerity by having everything be balanced all the time. So the key here is to go back into the Libra energy and see like, okay, Libra's artistic, it's diplomatic, and it craves balance. So all these things need to be present in your home so that you can create that space in a grounded way and then go out into the world and be more assertive. So the biggest thing with Libra is like it needs to create relationships. And the thing that is broken is the relationship with yourself. It's not so much with others, it's more so with yourself so that you can attract the relationships that you want into your life. So you have to ask yourself like, okay, what gives me balance? What gives me a sense of calm? And that's a big thing with Libra too, is like creating calm and creating serenity in your environment. So like, what do you want in your home? What kind of colors do you want in your home? What kind of fabrics do you want in your home? What kind of food do you want in your home? What type of lighting do you want in your home? Do you want curtains? Do you not want curtains? And like, you're just going through and building a relationship with yourself, because when we look at a certain color or we like feel a certain thing, we start to develop a relationship with that thing. And that's where like our memory starts to come in of like, I remember the smell of that, or I remember the taste of that, or I remember the touch of that. And like, it makes us feel good. And so like, that's the thing that really has to be looked at, is like, what makes you feel good? What makes you feel balanced? Where when you do that in your home and you feel that everything is, you know, like, what type of music do you want to listen to? Do you want instruments in your home? Do you want to learn an instrument? Do you want to paint? Do you want to do art? When you do all of these things and you've asked yourself that and you've taken a stand on what you want to do and what you want to have in your home, that becomes really powerful to then go out into the world in an assertive way and communicate in a very simple and straightforward way, which Aries is really good at, that this is how I want to live my life. And it's not doing it in an aggressive way or a way that's like you have a chip on your shoulder and it's just like a fuck you to everyone because like you didn't experience this in childhood. It's more so that you are content with where you're at, you're content with what you have, and then you can just go out and be assertive in your career. And yeah, like, healthy competition is really important for then an Aries MC, and then you define what it is you want to be competitive in. But the chances are, like, if you're not careful, you're just going to be competitive with everything you come across when you go out into the world. So like, you choose what you want to be competitive in. Do you want to be competitive in business? Do you want to be competitive in a sport? Do you want to be competitive in art? Do you want to be competitive in, you know, if you're a lawyer or you're a doctor, like, and you want to be top of your field? You define that once you've defined and grounded yourself in your own home and, you know, where you develop your roots. So the biggest thing, you know, with this placement is developing that authenticity later in life that says like, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, and this is who I am out in the world. And then you become better at like, you know, rolling with the punches in the MC. And I'll go through an MC video later of like what an MC in Aries really looks like. This is just kind of an overview. But, you know, you want to be competitive, but not at the cost of being so aggressive that you alienate people. And then when, you know, you've defined this for yourself in your home and out in the world, you can truly bring the people in that bring relationships and like fulfillment to you so that you feel that balance that was truly lacking. But it's not because like you're not rocking the boat. It's because like you are rocking the boat, you know, a little or a lot, and finding what means something to you and bringing that into your home and growing it and sharing it. Hope you enjoyed this video. We have Scorpio up next for the IC in the 4th house, Sagittarius to follow, and we'll just keep going. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Take care. Peace.